I'd been dating my fiancée for more than 2 years, and we recently became engaged. Though not especially devout, both he and I are Catholic. We are not frequent churchgoers. We normally attend on Christmas and Easter. We began dating after we became friends, and we had a great connection. We were both considerably more devout when we first started dating, attending church every week. I firmly feel and know that we were in love. When he asked me to marry him and proposed, I was certain of it. The fact is that I wasn't always so devout. I had a bit of a rough past. I've moved past my younger self, who was extremely different from me now. I ignored that aspect of my history. I've evolved into a completely different person, and my past does not still define me or influence who I am today. I do want to be with him, and I truly do love him. That is the most certain thing I know. The problem is that we've never really discussed my previous sexual partners, and because of my religion, he might have assumed I'm a virgin. That's why he might have assumed I'm a virgin. He was unaware of my background, prior to my return to religion, and the fact that I had, in fact, had affairs. I frequently read about angry spouses on the internet who discover their wife has misled them about her past sexual encounters. I made the decision that I didn't want to base our marriage on erroneous assumptions, and I reasoned that if I told him honestly, he would accept me regardless of my mistakes and continue to show me love. I informed him about my past. He was glum and utterly silent. He wasn't upset when I told him the truth, though, and explained that I didn't want to keep anything from him because I love him too much to keep secrets from him, and I wanted him to know the complete truth about my past before he committed to me. That was all that was said at the moment, but he thanked me for being honest with him. He ended our relationship 3 days later. It happened so quickly. Though he didn't look content, he admitted that he was having second thoughts and didn't think he was in the appropriate place for a relationship or marriage just now. It's okay, I assured him. He's allowed to have some alone time. We don't have to break up, but we can postpone the wedding. No, he ended our relationship amicably. Though he didn't say exactly why, I believe I know why. I believe that 3 days ago's talk is to blame. Now I feel so hurt and angry. When I tried to be honest with him, I received this response. Lying, what was I supposed to do? I adore him a great deal. I want him to take me back, that's all. It's unbelievable how my life is falling apart in this way. How should I proceed? Our relationship has lasted for 5 years. As soon as I turned 19, which was when we first met, I began dating him. I had been with him essentially since I was a teenager. We had a month-long separation 2 summers ago due to significant communication and expectation gaps. We reconciled. We kept things informal at first, and we both saw other individuals. He stalked my Facebook after we formally reconnected and spotted a message from when we had recently broken up and started seeing someone else. I sent an explicit message to a guy, and we exchanged images. He scared out, but he overcame it since we were going to see other people on his terms. Either way, I had to wait until now to win back his faith. We had counseling. Let's go back to about a week ago. Yes, but first, I relocated to this new state in July to allow him to accept an amazing new job. I was urged to relocate with him. I detest being here. Every time I want to go somewhere, I become rather tired of getting lost and am miserable, lonely, and bored. My family is missing me. Other than wanting to continue running the same path while sitting in front of the computer, he hasn't done anything wrong. I've made a lot of effort to meet new acquaintances. Since we moved, he has probably only gone out 3 times with the 3 of us. He only wants to cuddle or pay attention to me when I'm working on my schoolwork, which I take extremely seriously, so I try not to deviate from it once I begin going. I constantly touch him. He screams at CS::GO while ignoring me. Yes, I'm bored. And I made a foolish decision. About a week ago, I essentially sexted with a friend that I play games with but don't know in real life. After seeing that my boyfriend had spied on me on Skype, he stormed into the room last night and told me I had to go early. We concluded our talk when he mentioned that he just so happened to have the virus. He is currently really sick. I suppose all I need help with is knowing what to say to my relatives. I do love him, even though it doesn't seem like it. I had assumed that we would remain together. One time, I wanted to engage in some anonymous online sex because, well, why not? That is obviously a self-serving style of thinking, and I agree. Despite the fact that we have only spoken about this once, my boyfriend believes that I have an emotional attachment to this man. We have played games together before, which is why our Skype history dates back months. It counts because I clearly betrayed him. Now that we've lived together for a long time and I'm in a different state from everyone I know with a job so low paying I can't go out and get a home, I'm wondering how I tell my friends and family what a scumbag I am and what actions I should do. In addition to teaching nutrition, I also have a full-time volunteer schedule and school obligations. How am I meant to handle these situations? Shall I attempt to reconcile with him or simply walk away? Like I stated, despite my foolish behavior, I genuinely love this guy. I apologize now for the lengthy post and any formatting problems. Let's get started. I, a 31-year-old woman, have lied to my 37-year-old husband in the past, and more recently, last year, and every few months, we find ourselves returning to my falsehoods. I've been married to my spouse for 10 years. Actually, this summer marks our 11th anniversary. One evening, we had a one-night stand in a pub and became friends. My spouse is wonderful. The only thing I can picture for our future is him. Just to be clear, we have been dating for a total of 12 years. Male, 10, and female, 11, are our 2 children. I raised the subject of previous relationships early on in our partnership. I gave a number, but to be fair, it wasn't my real number, and he gave his. I still don't understand why I brought up the subject or why, in reaction to his statement, I lied. I stated a figure that was higher than I really was. We discovered we were expecting our daughter not long after we first met. My spouse had to relocate across the nation shortly afterward due to job, and I gladly followed him. I believed that moving here would be the ideal way to start over and raise a family. Although I was anxious about the baby, I dismissed my feelings as those of every new mother. I had no employment lined up and was leaving a well-paying position. I reasoned that once I arrived, I could hunt for employment. I gave up looking for work in my field and went to retail instead. My spouse also desired for me to be a stay-at-home mother. Although I was not at all excited about the notion, I accepted and spent the next 7 or so years at home raising my 2 children while my husband worked and advanced in his job. Eventually, I came to appreciate it, and I became a fantastic stay-at-home wife and mother. My spouse brought up the subject of sexual partners shortly after her daughter was born. I couldn't remember what number I'd said previously, so I said a different one. He called me out on my inconsistency after noticing it. We had a fight. Nothing was resolved, and it wasn't pretty. Our boy was born 1 year after our daughter, yet we continued with our lives. For 5 years, we lived and raised our small family there. Throughout that time, I kept coming back to my initial lie, which made him not believe me. After 5 years, we decided it was time to relocate back to the area where we first met. Really, life seemed amazing. We discussed sexual partner counts and falsehoods occasionally, maybe once or twice a year. The rest of our relationship was fantastic. We were the best pals that we had. Together, we delighted in one another's pastimes. Life in the sex department was amazing. Children behaved well. After our children were 7 and 8, we made the decision for me to return to work. I spent over a year working as a restaurant manager after failing to find employment in my field. Not sure what to do, but I detested my job. In order to make the transition simpler for both of us professionally, I made the decision to pursue a whole other career that was nearly identical to my husband's. I spent over 10 months away from my family as I trained for this position. One was away for the most part, but I did have a few weekends off where I could see them and Christmas holidays. We were not unfamiliar with this as my spouse travels on sometimes for work. I was in error. Being apart from him felt very different from when he moved abroad. While I was away, he was doing a terrific job with the kids. Not even a glitch occurred while I was out of the picture. That really disturbed me for some reason. I thought that everything I sacrificed for the family was in vain since I wasn't really needed. I was missing my family and was psychologically and physically exhausted from my work training, which may seem like trivial thoughts. When Christmas break arrived, I spent a few weeks at home once more. My husband, kids, and I continued to work and attend school while I slept a lot. Even though my body was exhausted, they occasionally allowed me to sleep for hours at a time while they were at home. I would not be woken by anyone. I was never in the know, so I felt like I was away again. I was irritated by how smoothly everyone's transition went while I was away, but I kept quiet because I was simply trying to savor my time with my family. Over Christmas break, one night, I went completely inebriated. It was so pounded, in fact, that I fell and bashed my face, resulting in a black eye, severe facial edema, and other cuts. Before I went outside and had my blackout, I called my husband, Baby Dick. I don't know why I did that. Now that I think about it, I just said that to hurt him. For the record, I've always been sexually pleased with my hubby, and he doesn't have a baby dick. I've never desired a sexual relationship with anyone else. My husband was enraged and my face was a complete mess when I woke up the following day. For the next few days, we had a lot of arguments, but soon after, I had to go back for my training. It was mentally and physically taxing to train again, and we had a lot of phone arguments. I kept pleading that I had no idea why I would say something like that, but my husband insisted on finding out. He assumed that I must be considering it, or that I was being unfaithful. We shared a sleeping space during my training, which was largely with men. To be clear, I didn't have an affair with my spouse. 2 other males came up to me, but I told them to beat it. We weren't doing well already, so I decided it would be easier to keep it to myself and didn't tell my husband about it. I see through omission to a falsehood. After 10 months, my training is over, and I return home with a new job and career. Nothing was fixed, and I'm constantly reminded of my baby dick comment. He believes I cheated, or maybe it's something else. I told him that I had sex with an ex on another occasion when I was so inebriated that I was going to pass out. I could not remember saying that, and for days afterward, he never brought it up. Again, I have no idea why I said it. Since our initial sex encounter after the bar, I haven't had any sexual relations with anyone. We continued to quarrel a lot, and now that I've admitted to having sex with an ex, we had more fodder for our arguments. We had arguments over the phone and over texting when my spouse was gone for a month at work. Additionally, he messaged the ex-wife and told her what I had said. When I called the ex's wife, she accepted mine and her husband's claim that we had no intercourse. My spouse wasn't persuaded and thought that during our phone conversation, I painted him in a negative manner. For background, neither my husband nor I have ever met the ex-wife. My spouse had maybe 2 quick meetings with the ex. The ex and I trained together for almost 4 months. My spouse is currently working abroad for roughly 6 months. We used to fight every day before he left. He was aloof. He didn't spend any time at home before heading out. He was at work for longer than he had to. The only other time he touched or kissed me was when a mutual acquaintance came for the weekend. Over the course of our friend's visit that weekend, he sat next to me and showed me affection. After our guests went, things appeared to be returning to normal. It returned to the coldness, and my spouse clarified that it wasn't awkward because he was merely being loving towards a friend. At last I gave in, sobbed uncontrollably, and told him how much I loved him and wished I could keep him. I disclosed the rationale behind my baby dick and my sexual encounters with the former commenter. I told him that even though I was hoping for the wrong kind of response, I was only wanting to hurt him and hurt him because I felt unloved and unwanted. I informed him about the 2 males that came up to me and that I had encouraged him to get over it. I expressed to him my desires for our relationship and the things I felt we were lacking. We will get over this, he assured me, adding that he loved me and didn't want any more falsehoods. My spouse has now been gone for approximately a month. Due in large part to the time difference, communication is light. But we were communicating, getting along well, and, to be honest, I felt like we were in a lot better place. My spouse sent me a message this morning, stating that he wants to know how many lies I'm now telling and that he won't talk to me until he hears the truth. After sending him 2 messages without receiving a reply, he sends me a link to something he wants. I offer to get it for him, but he doesn't respond for a while. I may be a terrible person, but I also know that I am in the wrong here. What can I do now, though? I want my spouse to be content and to have faith in me. I don't want our marriage to fail. How do I make this right?